Hello guys, welcome to a new video of Fischer series. Today look around number 7 of the Fischer Reshevsky matchup of 1961. A clash of generations, the best of the US during that time. And this is perhaps Fischer's worst blunder yet. I mean, I've analyzed over 100 games and I've never seen Fischer lose this badly and quickly. So let's actually see what happens. Fischer has the black pieces and Reshevsky starts with d4. Fischer played knight f6 in game number 1 and 5, but here he plays d5. Knight to f3, knight to f6 and c4, the Queen's Gambit. Fischer plays the Queen's Gambit declined, knight to c3 and bishop goes to b4, the Rogozin defense. Here you can play Queen a4 check, e3, bishop g5, all fine moves. Here we see e3, castles by Fischer and the bishop develops to d3. Well, here we can take the pawn in which you make the bishop move twice. We can also play c5 strike in the center, or play something like b6, fianchetto the bishop, and then c5. But here Fischer actually plays an interesting move, knight c6. Now a3, bishop takes, pawn takes, and to justify knight c6, he plays knight to a5, attacking this pawn twice. So what do you have to do here? Either take the central pawn on d5, or defend our pawn, either with knight to d2 or knight to e5. Well, Reshevsky plays knight to d2, and after knight to d2, simply c5, castles and b6. So this is a very fine position for both sides, nothing happening yet. And now we have c takes, e takes, and an interesting move by Reshevsky. He probably prepared this, f3. And with f3, the purpose is very clear. We want to push e4 and gain the whole center here. So what now? Rook to e8, attacking the backwards pawn, but simply rook to e1. Wanting to play e4 anyway. Bishop develops to e6. And now rook to a2. The purpose of f3 was not only to prepare e4, but also make a square for our rook to come into. So what now? Rook to c8, the best move by Fischer. Knight goes to f1, preparing rook to f2. C takes, and we have successfully opened up the c file. So what now? Well, the best move is bringing in the knight now to c4. But Fischer makes an interesting move here. I mean, tell me in the comments what you think about this move. He plays h5, and after h3 he plays h4. Very aggressive on the king side. Maybe he wants control over the g3 square. Now the knight has to move twice to come into the game. Maybe he wants to bring his knight into the game like this to g3. Let's see what happens. After h4, rook rotates to f2. And here, Fischer makes a little inaccuracy. He plays queen to d7, which doesn't really do much, because e4 is coming anyway, opening up the lines for the bishop, and after pawn takes, opening up this rook, space for the queen. Well, what do you have to do then? Something like knight h5, knight g3, or knight to c6, and after e4, pawn takes, we take this pawn, or jump in with the knight to c4 here. But okay, queen to d7 by Fischer, and now e4. D takes, f takes. White has the whole center. The rook got opened up, the bishop got opened up here, the queen got opened up. Beautiful position for white. So what now? Well, here, bishop b3 attacking the queen. Queen goes to d2. Perhaps queen to f3 was a bit better, but okay, queen to d2 here. Bishop to c4. Don't take the bishop here, then the knight develops with tempo on the queen and black's doing fine. Bishop goes to c2, and now the knight jumps into b3. Bishop takes, and e5. Knight has to move. And queen comes to g5, wanting to win this pawn. Fischer wants to exchange queens. Obviously, Reshevsky is not going to take the queen. That just gives away his attack. So he plays queen to g4. What now? Well, the rook goes to c6, wanted to rotate the rook towards g6 or h6 here. But now bishop to g5, going to win the pawn anyway, attacking the queen. So what now? Well, we're now at move number 27 and Fischer makes a huge blunder here. And the move is queen takes a3. A big mistake. I would say pause the video here and find the winning move for white, which makes Fischer resign the next move. Well, the winning move here is queen d7, and Fischer resigns the game. Why does he resign? The knight is defended. If you play rook e6, both rooks are defended. Well, after rook to e6, we actually win the f7 pawn. King has to move, and look at this threat. Rook coming to e4, going to win this pawn, and there's nothing you can do. This was a very short game, but I mean a very important game for Fischer's career as well, so that's why I wanted to show you this game. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if so, like, subscribe or comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.